Major support for Carolina Business Review provided by Colonial Life, providing benefits to employees to help them protect their family, their finances, and their futures. High Point University, the premier life skills university, focused on preparing students for the world as it is going to be. And Sonoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and provider of packaging services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries.
Closing in on Mother's Day, days away from the end of school, there is a lot of pent-up demand to get to normal, but just as much pent-up demand to get to the summer. Welcome again to the most widely watched and longest-running program on Carolina business, policy, and public affairs, seen each and every week for the last 30 years. Across North and South Carolina, I am Chris William, and thank you again for supporting this dialogue. In a moment, we'll kick off to almost the beginning of summer. And later on, he is the chairman of the UNC Board of Governors, an august body in North Carolina that oversees 16 college campuses and has an over 200-year history in the Old North State. Randy Ramsey joins us, and we hope you'll stay with us for the dialogue.
Gratefully acknowledging support by Martin Marietta, a leading provider of natural resource-based building materials, providing the foundation upon which our communities improve and grow. Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association. Visit us at southcarolinablues.com. The Duke Endowment, a private foundation enriching communities in the Carolinas through higher education, healthcare, rural churches, and children's services. On this edition of Carolina Business Review, Aaron Nelson from the Chamber for a Greater Chapel Hill-Carrboro, Carl Blackstone from the Columbia Chamber of Commerce, and special guest Randy Ramsey, president of Jarrett Bay Boatworks and chair of the UNC Board of Governors.
It is hard to miss the opportunity that we have in front of us, and that is people are anxious to get out. Summer is right around the corner, end of school, et cetera, et cetera. Carl, Aaron, welcome to the dialogue, and good to have you both here. Guys, let's talk about that. So one of the big first world problems that we are facing in many of our communities is this issue about housing. And now as we head into the spring selling/buying season of personal residences, it seemingly has got even hotter. Carl, I'll start with you. You know, urban core that Columbia is, you got Lexington and Richland counties, you've got housing exploding like the other markets. What are the bad sides of that?
Growing pains are obviously showing signs right now with growth in schools and infrastructure costs, et cetera. So lots of conversations on moratoriums, on housing tracks, et cetera. So we got to find a balance between, we can't use the 1980s, 90s word smart growth, but we've got a plan and we've got to be thoughtful on what we want to look like in about 20 years. But the growth is coming. The new census data is coming out. It's exploding growth. Both Carolinas are seeing significant growth. So this problem is not a short-term problem. It's a long-term strategy that we've got to start thinking about.
Carl, I don't want to say the opposing politics of, and again, in the Midlands, Richland and Lexington counties, but you know, they can stand opposite of each other. Does that exacerbate the situation when you're trying to find just housing or affordable housing initiatives?
Yeah, it does, because I mean we make our mark in South Carolina on job creation and manufacturing, but what is the point of giving? So parts of South Carolina you got to travel an hour to get to work, or you have to be an hour away to find attainable housing, and so there's got to be a balance right now on where we can construct homes, but also where jobs are going to be located, and it is a balance act. I don't know if we've gotten it right yet, and I don't think we have, quite frankly, but the significant growth on the coast as well as the upstate, we're seeing it here as well, much like what Aaron's seeing in the Triangle for years. It's no different, but we just got a plan, and it's new to us.
Aaron, the politics of your city centers, and I'll say Chapel Hill and Carrboro, are a little bit more aligned. Does that help when it comes to this housing bubble, this housing shortage, the challenge that you have?
Well, throughout the Triangle, Durham County, Wake County, Orange County have all pledged great commitments to building more affordable housing, both in the rental market as well as the home ownership. I think in order to attack it, we've got to be really intentional, set clear goals. In Orange County, we've got a goal of how can we add 1,500 more affordable units over the next 3 to 5 years. Chatham County, all the counties that we've decided it's super important. It's really expensive if you're going to have to import all of your workers from other places. There's a lack of civic participation that comes from people as they commute further and further away, and that we're going to have to build more housing in our communities in order to meet this need. And then we're going to have to prioritize the affordable housing. In Orange County, all new developments must have at least 10% permanently affordable housing. And setting policies like that, finding strategies to partner with the regulator, the government, and the developer to bring more housing online, I think that's going to be where we're going to need to focus.
Let's mention a couple of issues and see how that overlays on it. Aaron, I want to stay with you. The Apple announcement recently it's a big one. It's been speculated for a long time in North Carolina that economic developers were going to announce a major initiative with Apple, and sure enough, 3,000 jobs, $1 billion initial investment, squarely rooted in the Research Triangle Park and RTP. Does that exacerbate housing? Does that exacerbate the employment situation? Does that put a tailwind on all of this? So how does this look now over the next 3 to 5 years?
It's a great problem to have, and we're so excited to have them, but we're gonna have to work really hard as a community to make sure that we can provide the talent that they need in order to be successful. Our universities, our community colleges are now preparing to provide that talent. What are their training needs? And then on the housing side, it will also be a challenge. We are gonna have a lot of pressure in this market with Google's recent announcement, also with Apple's. But remember, our housing is expensive to us. But if you talk to anybody from California or Colorado or New York, they're thrilled to relocate to this area and think that we have some good deals. So folks coming from outside of market don't find our housing as expensive as we do. But if we're going to care for those that live more regionally and make sure that they can afford to stay for a while, again, we're going to have to prioritize workforce housing.
Yeah, Carl, same thing. When it comes to jobs, you may not have an Apple announcement, but economic development across the state of South Carolina is almost as robust on a per capita basis. How does the jobs situation, does the gap widen between those looking for a job and the jobs available?
Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting because in the last 10, since the recession, companies have located where there's talent. And the question was, what's going to happen post-COVID? Will that change, or will people move out of the urban market, metro markets? The Apple announcement last week may have been in the works for a long time, but it signals the companies are going to locate where there's a population base, where there's employment base, and much to the younger market, so college towns, which is a good thing. So what we've got to do is start planning as well to make sure that we capitalize and have those growth plans in place. Charleston is struggling with this as well. Greenville's struggling with this as well in South Carolina. Greenville-Spartanburg 85 corridor, where I think it's just a part of the trends of population migration to the South.
It also signals that the office is not dead, that for Apple to invest $1 billion and to build some physical workspace where people are going to work. Remote working is around for a long time. We're going to talk to each other just like we are right here for a while. But smart companies like Apple do realize that you are going to need headquarters and you're going to need offices in order to meet the needs of the workers of the future.
I agree.
And I think it points also to the importance of education. Our K-12 system, our community colleges, and our universities, we are going to have to continue to invest in them. That is what has earned us this reputation and why we get companies like this. But we're going to have to continue to focus there. So
Aaron, not to let you off the hook in about 30 seconds, do you get the sense there is will among educational leaders, and there are a lot of education leaders and initiatives and groups in states like North Carolina for sure, because that's your area of dominant influence, that have the will to make that work and try to get politics aside, but to press on toward a better arrangement?
I think so. We're gonna fight in the legislature and have arguments and other things, but we have 50, 60 years of tradition from Terry Sanford on forward that we decide that the D's and the R's can work together. Sometimes it is messy and ugly, and so a little bit of name calling in between, but when it comes down to it, education is a priority, and everybody, in the end, we think, well, we've seen they will support it in the end.
Carl, one off for you when we talk about policy and the State House specifically. Do you get the sense that the Senate is going to adopt some version of a hate crimes bill that is acceptable?
I think so. We're in an interesting point in our General Assembly. They're wrapping up. They're finishing today, and then we will hopefully they'll be back in June to finish some budget stuff. I think the hate crimes, it may not pass, but it'll pass this summer. I do think they'll get something done. We're one of the few states that don't have it, and there's mounting pressure by the day to get something done.
So again, do you get the sense that there's will among the Senate Republicans to hammer out something that would be acceptable and not just look good for the state, but have some teeth in it?
I think they'll pass something this summer.
Okay.
Whether it'll have teeth, it'll be a compromise, no question about it.
So as we rapidly approach now what is called post-COVID status and get back to normal, want to get back to normal, we are joined now by a leader in the state. He is head of the UNC, or the University of North Carolina System's Board of Governors. And what is their job? Well, is it's published planning, development, and overall governance of the 16 campus system of one of the oldest systems and the oldest colleges in this country. We welcome Chairman Randy Ramsey. Chairman Ramsey, welcome to the program.
Morning, Chris. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all today.
What is Mr. Ramsey, as you look back on the landscape of the last 12 months, as we all have, we live this new reality, whatever it is, and now we're emerging into something different. What is job one for the UNC System Board of Governors?
I think job one for our system board of governors, and frankly, the leadership throughout our system, is to get our students back in classes. You know, we need to return back to normal. And to do that, we need to vaccinate as many students as we can. We need to serve as a servant to the state of North Carolina, helping to facilitate those vaccinations. And to date, we've got 16 of our campuses that are doing that, and we've administered 79,000 vaccinations, not including UNC healthcare. You know, I think that the sooner we can get the students back in a college experience that they were hoping for and expecting, I think the better off we all will be. So I think that's job one. You know, with that comes the safety of the students and the faculty. We have to ensure everybody that comes back is safe. We certainly don't want to endanger anyone, but at the same time, we know that learning experience is vastly different when they can get back in the classrooms.
Aaron, question?
That get back to school, we're so grateful that UNC Chapel Hill is in Chapel Hill, of course, and that the UNC system calls Chapel Hill its home. That push and pull between the Board of Governors and local trustees and the local decisions, how are you managing deciding when the Board of Governors needs to decide that this is the policy and when the local school needs to decide?
Sure, that's a great question, Aaron. And I think it gets missed sometimes with because there seems to be some confusion about that on occasion. You know, in 1971, the legislature delegated the governance authority to the Board of Governors for the entire UNC system, including the North Carolina School of Science and Math, which we're all very proud of as our 17th campus. We were at that point, or those boards of governors there, were able to delegate authority to boards of trustees at the boards of trustee levels. So all those board of trustee members are both advisory to the chancellor and advisory to the Board of Governors. Now, they are critical. They're a critical component of the governance of each and every campus. And we are very dependent on them. I don't think there's anything more important than the boots on the ground. And those board of trustees are literally the boots on the ground there. They know what's going on that campus better than any of us ever will. I speak from experience. I was 8 years a trustee at NC State. So I had a little experience doing that. And frankly, Aaron, one of the things that I was frustrated about was I thought we didn't have enough authority at the Board of Trustee level. So since I've been on the Board of Governors, we've been going through our governance. We've been ensuring that we've been pushing down some authority to the boards of trustees where we thought it was appropriate, because I think they sometimes can make better decisions. When it comes back to reopening the campuses, that really falls on the president. And that falls on his authority with the chancellors. You know, certainly he's going to be working with public health officials, both state and federal, to ensure we make good, sound decisions. But that decision does come back to the system office in Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm. Carl.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this post-COVID growth, census data came out and not too long ago that showed tremendous growth both in the Carolinas. what pressure does that put on the system itself and for future iterations of higher education? Does that put pressure on the community college system, technical college system, and how do y'all blend that going forward? Because sustainable growth is, you can't keep building schools and adding dorm space. So what does the future look like?
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Y'all please call me Randy. I'm certainly
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. I'm not Mr. Ramsey. That makes me nervous. I think somebody's coming to arrest me or something. So your question is great. It's really quite broad, in my opinion. You know, what's going on in higher education? So we look across the census across our country. If we take the Carolinas out of it, we know there's going to be a decline in 18 to 24-year-olds as we move forward. We are focused as a system in North Carolina and with South Carolina as our partners. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that we have campuses very close to the South Carolina line. We're dependent on our brothers and sisters of the state of South Carolina to help our system be strong, just like we need to help South Carolinians be strong. But as we look towards that, Carl, I think we have to think about how we deliver education. We have to think about how we are going to educate people for ever-changing job market and how we're going to move more nimbly. You know, and I think that your comment about the community college in that is critical. It's a critical piece of that. You know, the community college system is much more nimble than we are. When I was going through town hall listening events, listening to what the people of the state were interested in a president for our system, one of the things I kept hearing over and over was the UNC system is too slow to make change to what industry or manufacturing or agriculture or computer science needs, that we sometimes take 4 and 5 years to change a degree program. And that was stunning to me. And it was an eye-opener. In the same sentence, one person said, the community college can do it in a matter of weeks sometimes. We've got to become more nimble like a community college. And to your point is how we continue to deliver that education, it's going to be a critical component that we work very closely with the community college system of North Carolina and South Carolina to ensure that that's happening.
Randy, thank you. We will let's pivot a little bit. In the Carolinas, no doubt, we love our sports: basketball, sport fishing, football, golf for sure. But the other thing is politics. And sometimes politics in the Carolinas turn into a blood sport. UNC Board of Governors has taken its share of pressure and controversy and criticism. And as stated, one of your initiatives is to get better governance. When you look at diversity and inclusion, and especially coming out of what happened last year, tragically, and what we're learning about all of these governance issues now, how do you get the Board of Governors to a place where you would feel comfortable about having that balance that does represent the people of the Old North State?
Well, you know, Chris, I appreciate that. You know, I think that we do need to concentrate. We need to work harder on diversity and inclusion across our entire system. I think if you look at the recent Board of Trustee appointments that have gone across our system, we have been trying to be very thoughtful about how we bring that diversity into our boards of trustees. And I think we did a much better job this time. I've got to give our chair of that committee, David Powers, our governance committee, a lot of credit. He worked countless hours on vetting trustees, making sure that they were interested in being involved at the university level. We don't need figureheads at each university. We need people who are willing to go to work and understand that they are not perfect. And if we are to thrive 100 years from now, we all have to continue to work together. You know, at the Board of Governors level, I will tell you that we have got people from Wilmington to Cullowhee, and from Beaufort and Raleigh and Charlotte and Greensboro, and simply the diverse background of each and every one of our governors is really quite amazing. We come from different backgrounds. They're all highly successful people in their own field, and they all have very different views on things. I tell you, we're a pretty spirited group. I would invite you to come and participate in some of our meetings. Excuse me. But that spirited group makes each other better. And you know, what I would say is that every one of those 24 members that I work with every day has one single goal, and that is to make the University of North Carolina better and to make the people of our state in the Southeast better.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Aaron, go ahead.
I had a question about funding.
Sure.
One of the upsides that should come with political appointments to their board of governors is they should have pretty good political relationships to turn back towards their appointee and ask for good funding. As we were worried about some state reduction in revenue probably over the last few years, but it seems like the state's funding is now pretty healthy. Are you all going to be asking for more resources? Do you feel confident that the legislature is going to support you in the way that you need to be supported?
Thank you, Aaron. First of all, I want to thank the legislature, but then it's thanking the taxpayers of North Carolina. You know, if we look across higher education across our country, the legislature and the taxpayers of North Carolina have stepped up from the very beginning to ensure that higher education was a priority for members of our state and across the Southeast or across our country and even world. They recognize that the path to a better life is through higher education. And for more than 200 years, they've proven that. As we move forward in the funding, you're right. One of the more controversial things I did was when the pandemic first started, I asked the university to show us what it looked like with a 25% reduction or 50% reduction in revenue. I think that many people thought I was directing that at legislature members, but I wasn't. Frankly, I was worried about auxiliaries, which is where we took the largest hit. That is something that we ignore, but is a very large part of each campus's budget. Dining, housing, bookstores, people being on campus and generating revenue for those. Right. They're very big businesses, each and every one of them. I think that our relationship with our legislature is very good. I think they trust our boards. I think they are pleased with the boards of trustees, and we've asked for a lot, Aaron. I mean, anyone who wants to, it's a public document. We've asked for nearly $1 billion in R&R funding. We're not looking for big shiny objects. We're looking for ways to fix what we have. To a question earlier, we can't continue to build bricks and mortar because we haven't done a very good job fixing what is there. The legislative discussions I've had with leadership have been very positive about that. They've been very positive about continuing to fund NC Promise, which has been very successful on 3 of our campuses. They seem very focused on trying to help us succeed in some campuses that may have been overlooked over the last 50 or so years. And I'm very encouraged. Now, I think that relationship is stronger than it's ever been. And, you know, and I don't think that's because of the political part of that. I think it's because they're seeing that we have taken the job we've been given very seriously, and we've been thoughtful about our leadership that we're choosing on our campuses, and that we truly are trying to improve things. And we're going to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars.
Carl, I'm going to have to butt in front of you here for a minute because we're going to run out of time. And I want to get to the boat building business because we literally have about 3.5 minutes left. Randy, you've got a passion, of course, around education, higher education in the state, but you've been building boats for 35 years. And anybody that talks to you about it can tell you that you love it. You love the communities, of course, Morehead City, Beaufort, Harkers Island, Atlantic Beach, et cetera, down in coastal North Carolina. What if you looked at your business now, what is it telling you about the economic landscape in Eastern North Carolina and just in general?
Well, you know, if you look at our business today, it would tell you that the economy is booming. The boat industry across the nation is busier than we can be. We can't deliver the products that people want to order from us. We have several companies. One of our companies is a sales company, and we're in 4 states, and we sell other people's lines of boats. Yesterday, we inquired with one of our manufacturers about a boat, and they said we could receive it in February of 2024. So that gives you an idea of the backlog. We are facing issues, though. We're facing workforce issues. You know, anybody I talk to across the state who's in manufacturing or is in service industries are really struggling for labor, and not just skilled labor, but even unskilled labor. Most of the people who work for our company come here unskilled, and we train them in-house. And well, I'm proud to say some have become some of the most talented carpenters and mechanics I've ever seen. So from that perspective, I would say on the surface, you would say things are very good. I do wonder in our business sometimes if we're seeing some sort of false economy. If we're not really seeing the what's underlying here. I can't help but be concerned about inflation. I can't help but be concerned about increasing interest rates, which could stifle the economic recovery we're seeing. So all those things, I think, as business leaders and as university leaders, we need to be very cautious about. We're seeing expansion in the boat business, and that's a very positive.
We've got about 30 seconds left. Do you see that this summer is going to be a good summer for the coastal communities?
It's going to be outstanding. You know, last year during the pandemic, coastal communities broke all records in occupancy tax. People wanted to come to the coast, and we've seen it throughout the winter. I think it's going to be terrific here, and so I'm going to spend some time in the mountains.
Yeah. Chairman Ramsey, I think we're lucky to have you in the Carolinas, and thank you for your volunteerism. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe. Happy summer. Carl, nice to see you. Aaron, always nice to see you. Good luck to you all. Until next week, I'm Chris William. We hope your business and your summer is good. Good night.
Major funding for Carolina Business Review provided by High Point University, Martin Marietta, Colonial Life, the Duke Endowment, Sunoco, Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, and by viewers like you. Thank you.